I'd like to call the business meeting to order, please. Could I have a roll call vote? I'm sorry, roll call, please, Michelle. Is Michelle here? Okay, let's just do our roll call. Megan Miller?
Present.
John Winkleman?
Here.
Kyle Larson?
Present.
David Wilson?
Here.
Pam Charles, I am here. John Wong?
Here.
Okay, all members are here except for Wendy Sanchez, who is out of the country and on vacation. Okay, now we have approval of the agenda, please.
So moved.
Is there a second for approval of agenda?
May I offer a friendly amendment before we second it?
Please.
We had intended to take action on the new district office furniture and the change order at the business meeting, but it happened at the special board meeting, so I'm wondering if we can remove items 7D and E from the agenda.
7D and E. All right. So that's as an amendment to the agenda. Is everyone okay with that? All right. All in favor of approval of the agenda with exception of,
So I'll second.
oh, you did, I'm sorry, I thought you said, okay. So all in favor of approval of the agenda with exceptions of item D and E, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Now, who do we have here today for the Pledge of Allegiance? Jaslyn and Shaquille.
We're from Robinson Elementary, 2nd grade.
Robinson, are you the teacher?
Mrs. Rosberg, yep.
What's your name again?
Mrs. Rosberg?
Mrs. Rosberg. Okay, is here with Jaslyn and Shaquille. Well, thank you two for being here with us tonight to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We really appreciate it. Would you like to come up here and say the pledge for us? Thank you. Thank you both very much. Thank you. Okay. All right, and now we have the reenactment swearing in of newly elected board members. Michelle is not here yet. We'll postpone that, yeah. Okay, announcements. Mr. Wilson, are you doing announcements? Or
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out, sharing your evening with us today. So here are the announcements for April 23rd, 2019. Becca's Closet will have numerous dates that are open for both boys and girls to get free prom wear. Please see the School District of Beloit website under announcements for dates and times. During the months of April and May, our 6 elementary schools will have their artwork on display at Beloit Public Library as part of the Art Library Show. Please again check the School District of Beloit website under announcements to see which school is displaying their artwork each week. Wednesday, April 24th, is Sexual Assault Awareness Day. School District of Beloit is participating in Denim Day to help raise awareness. Thursday, April 25th, is Stand Against Racism Day. You should wear orange. Todd Elementary Family Math Night at 5:15. Friday, April 26th, City of Beloit Arbor Day tree planting and event at McNeil Intermediate at 10 a.m. Tuesday, April 30th, at Fruzen Intermediate, they're holding their spring band concert at 7 p.m. Thursday, May 2nd, McNeil Intermediate Cultural Fair at 5:30 p.m. Beloit Area Retired Educators Association is holding a pancake breakfast on Saturday, May 4th, and it begins at 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. at Applebee's on Cranston. And everybody get a Netflix and chill because Beloit Memorial celebrates their prom on Saturday, May 4th at 7 p.m. So we'll have a lot of teenagers on the road. Everybody please travel safe and have a great time throughout this wonderful community of ours. May 5th through 11th is National Teacher Appreciation Week. So hopefully you took my advice from last month's advice and tipped your teachers with hugs. Monday, May 6th, Youth Mental Health Awareness Day. Tuesday, May 7th, National Teacher Day and Fruzen Family Math Night. Thursday, May 9th, Beloit Learning Academy is hosting their GED Option 2 presentation night at 5:30. There's some wonderful presentations that the students put together about projects that they've done in order to graduate. Saturday, May 11th, Beloit Literacy event at Beloit Public Library. Books will be given away to kids 3 to 12. The event goes from noon to 1 p.m. Wednesday, May 15th, Beloit Memorial High School celebrates their academic all-stars. The celebration begins at 6:30. Thursday, May 16th, the Night of Distinction at Eclipse Center, 5 p.m. Friday, May 17th, Converse Grade 2 and 3 Spring Sing at 1 p.m. And School District of Beloit Night at Beloit Snappers Pullman Field at 6:30 p.m. Almost finished. Beloit Memorial High School Varsity Concert Choir performs at First Congregational Church, 7 p.m. Monday, May 20th, Beloit Memorial Spring Orchestra Concert is at 7 p.m. Tuesday, May 21st, Cunningham versus McNeil Track Meet at Beloit Memorial High School Track, 9:30 a.m., and the jazz concert at 7 p.m. that evening. Wednesday, May 22nd, Aldrich versus Fruzen Track Meet at Beloit Memorial High School, 9:30 a.m., and Beloit Memorial Senior Scholarship Award Night that evening. Monday, May 27th, the City of Beloit Memorial Day Parade at 9 a.m. Wednesday, May 29th, Beloit Memorial High School Vocal Pops Concert at 7 p.m. Thursday, May 30th, and Friday, May 31st, Fruzen Musical, The Music Man Kids, 7 p.m. each night. And a full listing of all the spring athletic events can be accessed under the Athletics tab on the Beloit Memorial High School website. Thank you all for being here and listening.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Okay, and now, Michelle, are you ready to do the reenactment of swearing in?
So if I could have the four members come down. Raise your right hand and repeat after me, except where I pause, you'll say your name. So I swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. Swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin. And the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin. And will faithfully and impartially. Discharge the duties of said office. To the best of my ability. So help me God.
All right, and now we are at recognitions. Mr. Vissers, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam President and school board members, as well as community members listening online or via public access TV. We have Heather Haynes here with Mid-States Concrete. They held a food drive and donated food for our 3 food pantries at Hackett, Merrill, and Todd Elementary Schools. So thank you very much for that. Okay, congratulations to the following Beloit Memorial High School music students for advancing to the State Music Festival that is going to be coming up this Saturday at UW Whitewater. First, we have Gabriel Munoz, who will compete with a viola solo. Rihanna Weaver will compete in the cello. JT White will compete in a violin solo. Unfortunately, he was not able to make it tonight. And then we have Eric Funk, who will also compete in a cello solo. Congratulations to the following Beloit Memorial High School art students for receiving state art awards. Naya Avila, who received the Madison Mayor's Art Award, and Rebecca Atwell, who received the NASCO Award. Each of these two awards were only given to one high school student. Both Naya and Rebecca were recognized on April 5th at the WAEA Awards ceremony held in the State Capitol Rotunda. I don't believe those students were able to make it tonight. I'd like to take the time to congratulate the newly elected board members, Pam Charles, Megan Miller, John Winkleman, and John Wong. Pam Charles was re-elected to the board, as well as interim board member John Wong. And welcome back to John Winkleman, who has previously served on the Board of Education. And a warm welcome to new board member Megan Miller, who is brand new to the board. Pam Charles will be serving in a one-year term, while Megan Miller, John Winkleman, and John Wong will each be serving three-year terms. Also, on behalf of the School District of Beloit, we would like to recognize and thank Miss Nora Gard, who unfortunately had a pre-planned vacation and won't be able to be here tonight, and Mr. Klett, who is here tonight, for serving in an interim board position from July of last year to just this April here. And I believe Mr. Klett would like to say a few words.
First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming just to see me off tonight, so thank you very much. I learned long ago, my sister told me I'm not smart enough to ad-lib, so I had to write some stuff down, so please bear with me. And I can't find my glasses, so hopefully I can read it. First, I want to thank the COLAC team for their support. And a special thanks to Jennifer Francis and Michelle Shope. They do so many things behind the scenes to make sure meetings and supporting materials are in place. I also want to offer my condolences to Michelle and the Wenger family for the passing of Michelle's father, Virgil Wenger. Mr. Wenger was a great example of what makes Beloit great. He was my 7th grade science teacher right here in this building when it was called Roosevelt Junior High. He was also my track coach. He went on to be an assistant principal and touched the lives of many in this community and a lot of you in this room. Speaking of junior high days, we were the Roosevelt Rough Riders back in the 60s. And we always had a rivalry with the Lincoln Red Wings. We call them Stinking Lincoln. That's a fact. And the Aldrich Tigers, which we considered the rich kids' school. That was in the 60s, keep in mind. But once we got to the high school, we were brothers and sisters as Purple Knights. Once a Purple Knight, always a Purple Knight. This community has always had a great sense of pride and commitment to each other. As a member of the school board, I'm humbled by this community and the support that you have given to me, even on those occasions we may disagree. Being a civil servant is hard. Difficult decisions are made, but the many people that thank me for serving and serving Beloit has made me a better person. Some say this is a thankless job. It is one of the most rewarding experiences a person can have because of the support and gratitude which the people of Beloit have given. To those of you here tonight and watching or active in the district, thank you for being engaged. To the educators of this district, thank you for all you do in the thousands of lives and generations of successes you have helped to create. It's easy to criticize our schools, and I see Dave Lubke out there, and this comes from you and I talking a while ago. But in reality, 98% of what takes place in our schools every day is positive. I want to thank the current board for putting up with me and some of my rants. David Wilson, Kyle Larson, Wendy Sanchez, Pam Charles, John Wong, and Nora Gard. I want to welcome John Winkleman back to the board. I think that John's past experience and his knowledge of policy and public finance, and to Megan Miller and her enthusiasm, will be a great asset to this board and community. Plus, Megan, you're in the lucky seat. That was my seat. All good things come from that seat. John Winkleman, I want to steal a line from the forum I attended that you spoke at. We need to make changes. Change can be uncomfortable, but it is time to be uncomfortable. I'm excited about the future. Dr. Stanley Monroe will take the helm on July 1st. He's a person that has all the skills and leadership ability to take our district to new heights and become the envy of the state. He is a bold thinker and a person of conviction and will not be afraid to make changes so that our students have the best opportunities in life to succeed. In closing, to the community, stay engaged. Support and show Dr. Monroe what Beloit is all about. I wish the board and district much success. Thank you.
Would anyone like to say anything?
Well, Jeffrey, I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate your candor and your really your willingness to be a part of this board, and just the conversations that you and I had. I mean, I can appreciate that very much so, and I got your number, and you're not moving out of Beloit, so I know I can call you when this gets a little tougher. Things are going to be easy, but cheers to being uncomfortable. Thank you.
Well, Dave had some pretty heated discussions at times, and he actually convinced me to change my mind several times. Oh, but wait, we had fun doing it, didn't we? We had a lot of passion between the two of us, I'll tell you that.
Anyone else?
Jeff, thank you very much. I appreciate serving with you. I learned a lot from you, your experience. Once again, you and I, there were some times when, we didn't agree as well, but that's the part of a working board. So thank you for your service, and this community is blessed to have you.
Jeff, I just want to thank you for stepping up when you were needed. Your experienced leadership was invaluable. And we're not supposed to agree on everything. So I appreciate, that you came back when I know that, you were a busy man, but you came back, you served, and you helped us through many things, including our superintendent search. And I just can't thank you enough for coming back, and wish you the best. Thank you.
We're all here about Beloit, and we all have different opinions, but when it comes to it, we're all here for Beloit. Here's the good news.
Okay. Mr. Visser, did you go through all of these? Okay. So we are now at the time for citizen input. And I will read this because I'm willing to bet that there's a couple people who want to speak tonight. The Board of Education is now at the place on the agenda where we will receive public comments on areas of interest that are not on our agenda tonight. The Board of Education will generally not respond or act on items that are not on tonight's agenda. Appropriate items will be referred to administration or to one of the boards or committees. While the board and district welcome public comment, we as a board also must ask that you exercise care in your comments that relate specifically to district employees or to persons connected with the school system. In order to protect the rights of these individuals, the board reserves the right to end comment on such topics. The use of specific names of district personnel may lead to legal liability on the part of the speaker. The board has existing procedures in place to address legitimate complaints against staff members and persons related to the system. The Board of Education asks that each person wishing to address the board has completed a comment card and given it to the board secretary prior to the start of the meeting. Individuals will come to the podium as they are called and give their name and address before speaking on their topic. Each person will be given up to 3 minutes to speak. Public comments requiring translation will be given 6 minutes. Are there persons wishing to speak at this time? And if so, Michelle, do you have the cards? I do. Okay, you want to call them? Sure. Thank you.
So the first person I have is Nicole Jordy.
Hello and good evening, everybody. My name is Nicole Jordy, and my address is 1821 Garfield Avenue here in Beloit. I am speaking tonight on behalf of the Converse Elementary School parents and would like to read a letter sharing our views about the proposed DLI, Dual Language Immersion Program, that is proposed to be put in our school next year. Dear Board of Education members, we were informed that Converse Elementary School is a proposed site for DLI, Dual Language Immersion Programming, for the 2019-2020 school year. Our children's relationship with the school are important to us. Converse Elementary is currently the highest-ranking academic elementary school in Beloit. Converse has received the Wisconsin Promise School of Recognition Award annually since 2011. The most recent 2017-2018 MAPS test results show that Converse performed at or above the national mean scores and above district mean scores in reading and math in grades kindergarten through 3rd grade. We believe that continuity and well-orchestrated programming need to be in place for student success. The Converse staff have well-trained, excellent educators who work cohesively and effectively as an instructional team. We like that there is consistency and a low turnover staff at Converse. There has been a concerning high turnover of DLI staff annually in our district, which disrupts learning and achievement. After meeting with Mr. Bosco on March 25th, we left with unanswered questions and numerous concerns. Some of these questions and concerns include: we feel that we did not get authentic information at the meeting, not having a parent or teacher of the DLI program present at the meeting. We would like to know why there isn't a DLI curriculum consistent to the curriculum in English-speaking classrooms. We were presented with incomplete and inaccurate statistics and data. An average of the district was given and not Converse student performance. We are concerned that we will not have adequate parent and student support outside of the school. How many Converse students have left Converse to go to a DLI program? How many families have open enrolled this year and prior years to come to Converse for our programming as it is today? How many of our Converse families will or have open enrolled to another school district after hearing that DLA might come to Converse? We would like specific statistics that outline which is better, DLI in the elementary school or taking a second language in middle school. Therefore, we believe the DLI program is not in the best interest of our children. Its implementation at Converse Elementary School is not a good fit. I'd like to thank you and your time and consideration for this matter.
Thank you for sharing your concerns.
Good
We
evening.
appreciate it.
Okay, next I have Riley Flory.
Yeah, my name is Riley Flory, 1322 Division Street. I want to know why that the district is not recognizing Converse for their recognition that we just got from the state. That's one thing we need to get. Why get all the negative crap out here and we get nothing positive? I mean, come on now. We can do better than that. And I want all of you guys to stand up for the residents who you represent. You don't represent your own agendas. Represent us and the students. That's all I got to say.
Okay, the next person I have is Tony Capizzello.
Before we,
Tony, you might want to wait a second. I think Pam's going to say something.
Didn't want to interrupt. I come in peace. For real. My name is Tony Capizzello. I'm a 13-year teacher at Blight Memorial. I'm a former 14-year restaurateur and a 3-year school board member in the DeForest Area School District. As a former board member, I wholeheartedly appreciate the endless work and difficult decisions and an enormous amount of time that the board takes to help us out. Their families, and they sacrifice greatly. I know that from personal experience. And the decisions that have to be made sometimes are unpleasant. All that said, I'm also here this evening to make a proposition for the board to consider and to help us restore the once familial and stable district that I was hired by 13 years ago. People like me used to flock to apply here. Yet today, in fact, exactly today at 3:40 p.m., I learned that 2 excellent teachers that hold dual high school and college credit programs for our kids will be resigning and have accepted positions elsewhere. I can only be happy for them, as they will be spared the tumultuous ride that has become our sick normal. It's been a miserable road from collaboration and productivity to corruption and compliance. As a potential remedy, I propose the Board of Education set an impartial example for the city and hold a large stakeholder summit. This summit could consist of a diverse 1,000 people, representing all that Beloit is comprised of. Buy people breakfast and lunch, and they'll show up. The workshops will be full. The purpose would be to create a 20-year plan for this district that will be upheld and followed no matter who sits on the board, who the superintendent is, who the principal of the week is. It doesn't matter, because we'll have a 20-year vision that everybody can be held accountable to, that everybody took a part in. That is essential, because without it, we're doomed. I've seen this place just go to hell in a handbasket in 13 years. I brought my wife here and sold a big, beautiful home in another place because I love this place and I love these kids. My wife has since found the same. Yet, from one day to the next, you don't know what wrench is going to be thrown into the mix to muck things up. I got to get back on task because I'm not good when I get off. So, what better way to meet and greet Dr. Monroe than to connect him to families of thousands of kids that he will serve, than to organize and see what the people may contribute while we have them working together in a productive environment. The board will garner a clear vision and tasks that it will be responsible to implement while enjoying full community buy-in and transparency. This will yield amazing results. The policy outcomes will guide all decisions and resource allocation to make sure the strategic plan is adhered to. The plan should be amenable, like our Constitution, so it can flex with the times, yet provide the stability that we need desperately at all times. Why?
thank you. Could you, I'm sorry, but 3 minutes, could you wrap up? Thank you.
Okay. Let me just get to, I guess, this last part.
Thank you.
In reference to the existing 5-year plan that is often referenced, I would just say this. That plan did not cast a wide enough net. Very few people can recite it. And it was not inclusive. And I think with all the healing that needs to be done in this community that I have seen deteriorate faster than fast in the last few years, that we need to hit the pause button everybody in this room, hit pause and get together and find a solution. And the district needs to do it. Can't be done by outsiders. We have to show that we can lead. We don't need any outside influence. We don't need anybody's money. We need to pull up our pants and get this done. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next person I have is Tracy Presley.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Tracy Presley. I reside at 2295 Cobblestone Lane, Beloit, Wisconsin. I am here to respond to a recent article in the Beloit Daily News titled, "Leadership Pulled Together." Board President Pam Charles states, "We need community leaders to pull together to bring a positive change." I concur. By shedding light on policy and procedure, as Ms. Harrells did, she used her voice to pull the community together and lead. So I ask, as board president, did you not consider yourself a leader? Are you not part of the community? Are your decisions that you make not affecting students, staff, and district morale? Perhaps the board should remember they are modeling for students. In fact, the board's leadership has caused uncomfortable learning environments for students, uncomfortable working environments for staff, and confusion and division for the community. So much that you don't and won't give answers. And in your words, Ms. Charles, as staff, students, and communities, I quote, "We don't need it either."
Next, I have Regina McAllister.
Good afternoon. My name is Regina McAllister, and I reside at 1808 Arbor Drive in Beloit, Wisconsin. I would just like to share that our children, your children, our children in the community, they deserve schools that have a great leadership team, and they deserve to have a good education. So I want to talk about 3 things that we teach our kids in school. These are 3 action steps that we teach our kids. We teach them to recognize a problem. We teach them to report a problem. We teach them to be positive bystanders. And what I mean by that is they're supposed to stand up for all, they're supposed to be respectful, and they're supposed to include everyone. So our children reported a problem. I just want the board to make sure we're looking at it. I'm not saying share the confidentiality information about the problem, but look at the problem and make sure we're taking care of it. Thank you.
Next, I have David Lupke.
David Lupke, 2361 East Ridge. Good evening. I last addressed this board at about 3 years ago on the eve of the new elections, and I was hoping that we'd start turning around some of the turmoil. I can say I've been pleasantly pleased and surprised because of Wong and Klett and Guard coming on, and some of the problems were rectified, and I think we got to start. And I'm hoping, and I want to welcome this new board, and I want to encourage you to work as a team, because as somebody said earlier, it's for the kids. It's for the kids. And I've been at this for 50 years with the kids of Beloit, and that's the bottom line. But a few things over the last 2, 3, 4 years have bothered me that I can address because I have some knowledge because I've worked in those areas. Number one, our test scores were supposed to go up. Our test scores have not gone up. That concerns me. Number two, the discipline code book. I helped write that book with people like Doc Elzey, Fran Frusen, parents, students, parents of students, etc. We have 4 divisions, level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. That code book has not been followed the last 3 to 4 years. And it needs to be followed. I'm not blaming the board for that. I'm saying I will look at administration. As far as administration, I've been amazed at the inflation of jobs created at Roosevelt. I look at Janesville, they have 10,000 plus students. We have under 7,000 students now. We have probably 10 more administrators at the central office. The research is showing one thing over my 50 years in education. The most important variable is the teacher in the classroom, making a connection with these kids. That's nothing more important. And for years, I saw that firsthand. And you come in and students look at you, and then over time, you prove yourself by being sincere and honest and compassionate. And that's what matters. And you can ask Reverend Ivy or any teacher, that connection with a student or a person is paramount. So again, we have in Beloit some of the best teachers in the country. We have top-notch teachers. So if we took some of that money that we have spent putting people in Roosevelt in positions, administrative positions, and put it in the classroom, teacher aides, teachers, I mean, class size of 35 for an English class at the high school? No, that doesn't work. We need teachers. We don't need administrators. I'm saying that as a former administrator. I've been at Roosevelt. I've been in the schools. I know what I'm talking about, okay? Next on my list. Somebody on the board or central office wasn't doing their job. I wonder how many taxpayers in here remember about 3 years ago when your property taxes went up 25%. School, you remember? I didn't hear a lot of noise on that, but I didn't enjoy that because somebody in central office or somebody missed a waiver being filed. And we have all these people in central office.
Mr.
Anyway,
Lukey, 3 minutes. Can you
your
wrap
taxes.
up,
Okay.
please?
I just want to
I'm
encourage
sorry.
you to work as a team. I know each one of you. I've had some of you as students. We've got 7 good people up there. And work as a team, work for Beloit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I have Isaac Johnson.
Hi, I'm Tia Johnson. I live at 1621 Indian Road. I'm Isaac's mom, so I'm going first. 3 years ago, we decided to have our son return to the school district of Beloit. A couple of days after classes began, I discovered that my son was only allowed to bring 1 textbook home from school. To fix this problem, I contacted an administrator. The first administrator informed me that books no longer go home because they, quote, can break. And parents in the past have been irate at cost of having to replace damaged or missing books. A second administrator said, quote, it really wasn't fair to the other students, unquote, who didn't have families at home to support at-home learning. The next 2 administrators I spoke to were equally dismissive and defensive about the issue. I had even downgraded my request to just asking for the ISBN numbers so I could just purchase the books for my son to use at home. A win-win situation. At the end of the year when he was done, they would be donated to the school. I got nothing but lip service. A few weeks later, I was attending a local community meeting and was sharing my dismay about the situation. One gentleman expressed regret about my experience and informed me that he was an administrator with the school district of Beloit. He excused himself from the meeting, went out to the hall, and made some phone calls. After the meeting, Dr. Williams introduced himself to me and let me know what calls he made. My son was able to bring home another textbook. It wasn't every textbook, but better than what we had had. What it did do for me was show me that there was an administrator who cared about the quality of my son's education. there was an administrator who cared about my concerns as a parent. He treated my son's education separate from what or who other students had or didn't have at their homes. He treated me independently from what other parents have done or said in the past. As a parent, I took comfort in knowing that there was a district-level administrator who understood the importance of education, that learning doesn't always take place in a classroom, and that a parent and a student with a well-rounded education will learn from teachers, parents, and community members. As a community member, I was pleased there was a district-level administrator who cared enough about a student whom he had never met, a student's education, who understood the return on that student's education was worth the risk of books going home. As a parent, I was relieved there was a district-level administrator who appreciated the need for quality customer service in education, just as we had opted to trust our son's education to the SDB. We have the option to entrust his education to other school choices. Isaac?
Good evening. My name is Isaac Johnson, and I live at 1621 Indian Road. Dr. Williams will do a superb job as a co-principal of Fruzen. That is just who he is, a compassionate person who embraces the ideals of public education. The students and families at Fruzen are very fortunate to have Dr. Williams there to be an advocate for them. Unfortunately, this currently leaves the SDB void of district-level administrators who are capable of seeing students and parents as individuals. A void of district-level administrators to have the strength and courage to stand up for students because their education matters. A void in district-level administrators who see parents as equal educational partners. These are exactly the reasons why the SDB needs him to remain at Colac, to instruct others on how to transform the SDB from being a district that wants to look like a college campus to being one that thinks and learns like a college. Today, more than ever, we must have people in positions of leadership who choose to see people as individuals and appreciate having everyone contributing toward the common goal of quality education for all of Beloit students.
And the last person I have is Ariana Marco, if she's wishing to speak. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everyone, for coming here and for sharing your concerns with us. We really appreciate it. And I'm sorry? Okay. I want to offer an apology because I see so many Converse people here, and you're right, Mr. Flory. Yeah. We should have recognized them tonight. I know it's going to be done next month, but it would have been better to do it tonight. It's on the website. We are definitely celebrating it, but we needed to recognize that tonight. And I appreciate you coming up and calling us out on that. I'm going to find out. I've been out of town for a week, but I will find out. And again, I appreciate you bringing that up, because we want to celebrate all of our successes. And you're right, the positive news needs to come out because there's a lot of it. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Okay, the next item on the agenda is summer school offerings. And who's presenting that?
Lisa Haar.
Ms. Haar?
Michelle, do you want to present it over here? I'm sorry, I got it right there. Sorry. No, you're fine. Good evening. Lisa Haar, Director of TLI. I'm here to present on summer school. Would you like me to wait? Okay.
Just for 1 minute while it quiets down. Okay, I think this is good. Thank you.
Good evening. Lisa Haar, Director of TLI, here to present on summer school programming for 2019. So goals for 2019 is to increase enrollment, improve our programming, improve student academic performance, create consistency for all schools with the number of days and minutes, make it convenient for families and interesting for students, and then to generate revenue. Summer school sites for 2019, we have 4 elementary schools this year: Gaston, Hackett, Merrill, and Todd. They'll be running 6-week programs from June 17th to July 31st from 7:45 a.m. to 2:15 p.m. All of our elementary school sites will be offering a wraparound care program. Something different for this year for both Merrill and Hackett elementary schools will be the Beloit Parks and Recreation will be providing our after-school programming. This will be free for all of our families who are enrolled at summer school for both Merrill and Hackett. It is a pilot program, so they are only accepting the first 30 students for each of those schools and hoping to expand for the following years. Again, they'll be running from June 17th to July 31st. Their after-school program will be from 2:15 until 5. They are also offering the wraparound program from August 1st to August 16th from 12 p.m. until 3 p.m. For Todd and Gaston Elementary School, we'll be using YMCA for Todd, and we are currently working on YMCA for Gaston as well. We're hoping to get that all finalized within the next week or so. They'll be running from June 17th to July 31st, again from 2:15 to 5 p.m. That's been consistent with what's been offered for summer school wraparound program for the past couple of years. For our intermediate schools, we'll be offering summer school at Cunningham and Fruzen, again 6-week programs from June 17th to July 31st, running from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. Beloit Memorial High School will also have summer school, running again 6 weeks from June 17th to July 31st from 8 a.m. to 12:05 p.m. A little bit about our course offerings. For all of our K-3 sites, we will be offering both math, literacy, science for our core classes. We have done some changes for a lot of these to offer more hands-on opportunities for our students. Our elementary enrichment classes will be consistent to what has been offered the past couple of years. For our intermediate buildings, this is where we've done a lot of our changes for this year. Our 4-8 sites will still offer math, literacy, science core classes, but again, offering more hands-on opportunities. In the document, you'll notice that there are several courses marked with an asterisk. Those are the courses that we have changed for this coming school or summer school program. So art and more, musical theater, music exploration, those are courses that were offered last year. We are currently adding beginning robotics, digital fun, basic summer Spanish for our 4th and 5th grade students, advanced summer Spanish for our 6th and 8th grade students, books to movies, team sports, team activities, and lifetime wellness have all been the additional courses that we've added for this year. Games was a consistent course that they had in the past. For our high school, the majority of our summer school offerings for the high school is credit recovery for our 10th and 12th grade students. However, this year we've increased our initial credit opportunities for our incoming 9th graders. We are offering 3D art, health, careers, and occupations, food and cultures, performing arts. We have revised our math emphasis course for our 9th graders, and we've done some modifications to our strength and conditioning courses for our incoming 9th graders and 10th through 12th graders. So we've changed that a little bit to be a speed and agility 1, just specifically for our 9th grade students, and speed and agility 2 for our 10th and 12th grade students. Additional offerings for staff and students. We'll provide professional development for all of our teachers and paras. It will occur on June 14th, my apologies. They'll learn the content area that they'll be using throughout summer school, as well as the learning management system before summer school courses start. Technology will be used throughout the summer school, as well as students will receive breakfast and lunch for K through 12. Some various ways that we've communicated to the community. Again, these are ongoing communications, and they've been revised and updated as we go through. Brian Vissers has put out a lot of this information. He updates the district website. He puts out information on the district Facebook page, Twitter page. Flyers have gone home in both English and Spanish. Information was given to parents during our spring parent-teacher conferences. Posters have been given out to schools. Beloit Daily News has been in the loop with all of this, as well as district Blackboard messaging system. Fiscal impact. At the conclusion of our summer school program, we'll provide a full presentation to the board on how our summer school program did and the impact that it's had. Is there any questions about summer school?
I have one.
Yes.
Actually, two. I spoke with our former interim superintendent. I spoke with our current interim superintendent. I have a lot of parents that contact me and say that they would like their child to learn cursive writing. And some say, I would like that, but I really don't want it to come out of reading and math. Wouldn't summer school be a great place to offer that?
That could be something that we could explore moving forward, and definitely I think that's something that we can take for conversation.
Okay. I mean, explore it maybe for this coming year?
That I'm not sure. We're coming down to the very end of summer school. It's been kind of tight preparing all of our stuff as it is. Again, that's something that we can explore as a possibility.
Okay. And then the other question is, I help high school students with their essays for college applications.
Okay.
And something that we really need some work on with our students. And I was thinking possibly that could be a good elective for high school, is the writing of a college application essay, maybe for freshman or sophomore.
As an elective option, and I think that's something that we would have to develop that course to be able to offer that as an elective. If we were to do it as an enrichment opportunity where they wouldn't get a credit, that's something that we could put together. But if it was an elective option, we'd have to draft that course.
Well, an enrichment thing would be fine. I mean, I think something the kids need. And I mean, that essay can make or break, especially since some schools are not taking test scores anymore. The essay can be what gets you in or doesn't get you in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we'd have a lot of kids interested in both the essay writing class and the cursive handwriting.
Perfect. I will bring those
Thank
up
you.
and we can pursue
Appreciate
that.
it.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, anyone? Ms. Miller?
Hi, thanks so much for your presentation. I'm just curious, is there any hope for any after-school or wraparound care for intermediate schools?
That is definitely something that was talked about. And I know with the Beloit Parks and Recs, again, they're starting with those two schools at the elementary, and we'd really definitely like to expand out to the intermediate. So yes, that is something that we need, and I'd like to pursue. Not something that I can put together for this year, but I would definitely like to pursue that for the following school year.
Well, I just want to thank you for collaborating with our city, too. That's really exciting.
They're very excited to work with us as well, so it'll be a great opportunity for our families.
Okay, I would just like to thank you, Ms. Haar, for the presentation. To our families, again, please make sure that you're connecting with your home schools. If you're looking for information about summer school, you can get the flyers and the sign-up sheets at your home schools. Also look in our websites. Again, engaging students in the summer is a great way for us as a school district to really address some achievement gap issues and keep kids engaged throughout the entire summer. So if parents, if you have any questions, please connect with your home schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bosco. Anyone else have any questions about or comments about summer school? Okay, so we'll move along here. And next agenda item is going to be Board Member Larson. He's going to give us he attended the National School Board Association conference, and he's going to bring back some information that he thinks is valuable for our board. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Larson.
Oh, you're welcome. While I'm waiting for the presentation to get pulled up, I want to thank the board and the district for allowing me to go to the to the convention, the National School Board Association convention in Philadelphia. It was great to pick the workshops I got to go to, as well as connect with different board members across the country, kind of talk about things happening here, what do they do, and so I came back with some really good ideas. The very first day I was there, I attended a workshop based on building a strong relationship between the board and the superintendent. I thought that would be perfect with a new superintendent coming in, and it actually turned out to be my favorite workshop that I couldn't stop thinking about the entire time. Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry. All right. Okay. So the workshop I attended was presented by Doug Eady, and he's the author of a book called Governing at the Top, and his job is really working with nonprofit organizations, their boards, developing the governance, and he also works with school boards. The workshop ended up being totally about committee structure, which, last year we went to a new committee structure here in the district, and I think that some of us are starting to realize, with all of the best intentions, may have taken a wrong turn. So his whole point was really that the committee structure can really have a high impact on that relationship. So just because things are going well in a district doesn't mean that relationship between the board and the superintendent is going well. So he's seen many school districts where very high-performing districts have then non-renewed their superintendent because that human piece has been neglected and not taken care of. Okay, so this is the exciting, nerdy stuff for me. So he recommends that a board has 3 committees. One of the committees is the planning committee. 3 board members sitting on the committee, one of them serving as the chair, and the committee has knowledge of how things will come together and influence each other. So really looking at all things for the future. So like budget, curriculum, the capital improvement plan. So for example, right now we have an infrastructure committee where is charged with helping develop the capital improvement plan, make recommendations, then serve it to the board. But that also has a huge financial impact, right? And we have a fiscal committee, and the two are siloed. And actually, I think that's a big problem in education where everything is siloed. But having that one planning committee where the superintendent and their staff brings everything looking for the future, and that committee then has knowledge of all of those things that are coming. Committees don't have to talk to each other. Administrators know where to go. For example, the calendar for next year, it has impact on communication, it has impact on staff, it has impact on students. So that's really potentially 3 committees where one topic would have to go. And so that requires administrators to make several presentations, and that's a waste of their time and also frustrational for them. Okay? So then the second committee is the oversight committee. So again, made up of 3 board members, one of them serving as the chair, and then this committee monitors everything in the now. How are we doing? So pretty much dealing with the things that the planning committee dealt with previously in the previous year now would go to the oversight committee. So all progress monitoring, the financial reports, school climate, building updates would come to the oversight committee. Okay, the third committee then is the governance committee, made up of 3 members. And this committee consists of the board president and then the chairs of the 2 other committees. So this is the only committee that the board president sits on. And the governance committee, they're really charged with planning and professional development for the board, kind of assessing strengths and weaknesses of the board as a whole, trying to find those resources to help the board grow in their governance abilities. The governance committee would also, for example, the district right now does have a code of conduct, kind of like a job description for a board member. So the governance committee would then evaluate board members based on that guideline, those standards. And again, this is his thought, so we take whatever we want, we leave whatever we want to, and make it work for our district. They would also really work on helping to develop the board goals and bring them together for the board for a final approval. Of course, they're not going to write the goals. That's a whole board job, but they would do the manpower of editing documents and getting them ready for board approval. And then they would also be charged with doing board member orientation. Also, some districts have the governance committee do a workshop for people who are thinking about running for school board. So the governance committee would be there. Potential candidates can come, ask questions, get them answered by people who are on the board and serving on the board. Just more miscellaneous information. The superintendent's involved in all of the committees, whereas right now we have different administrators based on their expertise assigned to be a liaison to the standing board committees. Policy is handled by the entire board, a committee of the whole. And his suggested model, which I don't necessarily agree with, is that very rarely would an administrator come and present to the entire board. It would usually be someone from that committee. But okay, so then this raised some questions in my head. So who evaluates the members of the governance committee? They get to evaluate everyone else. So the reason that's made up of the board president and the two committee chairs is because you want to evaluate participation in the committees, you want to evaluate like attendance at committee meetings, their readiness for those meetings, and so the chairs would be the ones who would be working on those committees. So then, and I was trying to anticipate questions and problems that you all would see with this. So my solution to this would be that the committee members would actually evaluate their chairs. So the two other board members on the planning committee would evaluate their chair, and then all board members would evaluate the president. So then, how do you protect the board from being controlled by a minority of the board, 3 board members, because any board committee cannot be a quorum of the board. So, and the way it is now, the board president appoints the chairs. So one way would be that the president could appoint board members to each committee, but then the committees themselves would elect their chair. So next steps, if the board is interested in this, is talking with Dr. Monroe. And even though this really does have a lot to do with board and superintendent relations, I do feel it's very strongly a board governance issue, and will benefit our relationship. So it's a decision that we need to make. So I would recommend that purchasing a copy of the governing at the top for the board, cabinet, and superintendent. It's like less than 100 pages long. And he also said that if you a board were to decide to change their committee structure, that you would create an implementation committee who would start writing the policies and the guidelines for all of these committees, then work on the plan to change the committees over into this new structure. So one of the reasons that I was really excited for the committee structure, and I think that the community was excited for the structure, is that it really engaged our community, helped with transparency at the committee level, and was a way to get input on district issues. So then that's another question that I thought everybody would have, is then how do we engage our community? We're coming to the end of our strategic plan, so we would have to engage our community. Many of the other workshops I attended, especially focusing on high poverty and high performing districts, talked about having a graduate profile. So we would need all of our community members to come together, businesses, our local educational institutions, to really talk about what does a graduate from Beloit Memorial High School look like, and what skills do we want them to have when they leave us, and what do they need to have to be a good, productive member of our community. Then This year, for the very first time, we did a board evaluation. So expanding that out to a 360 board evaluation where you open that up to the different stakeholders, because so the board, of course, would do a self-evaluation, but then the community members, staff members, even students at the higher levels could evaluate the board members, or the board as a whole, not individual members, on those same goals that the board would evaluate themselves. The superintendent has the right for any administrative committees, and I know Dr. Monroe has spoken often about the committees that he would like to have. Broadcasting our meetings and our committee meetings and Facebook Live our meetings and our votes. So I know this is something I've talked to President Charles about, and she's spoken to Mr. Vissers, and right now he's working on creating a Board of Education Facebook page so that we can Facebook Live our meetings. I've talked to a lot of people at the conference, and a lot of districts are doing that because, again, a little nerdy Facebook tip is that when you go live, the Facebook algorithm pops up to the top of your news feed, okay? And so then, of course, that would not replace the cable access channel or the YouTube channel. That would be another supplemental way to get the meetings out. And for example, if we had a special meeting that wasn't broadcasted, then or executive session, obviously we couldn't Facebook Live that, but then we could Facebook Live the votes that happen afterwards. So one of my biggest general takeaways was we have a lot of resources as a district. You know, we have human capital, we have the potential of our students, we have taxpayer dollars, and when you take resources like water and you just spread them all around, maybe things will be green, things will be kept alive. But when you intensely focus those resources, water can cut metal. And so instead of being all over the board, we really focus on what's important and what needs to happen in our district in order to impact student achievement in a positive way. The committee structure, the planning committee would be very important in building the budget to make sure, for example, that it aligns to district priorities, the strategic plan, and make sure that if this is something, an initiative we want to do, that the budget supports that, and that, you know, we're not told no when we want to do something because there's no money for it. Some things that keep going around in my mind is that all means all students, every single one of them. And to get to 100, you have to go through the bottom 20% of students. So unfortunately, sometimes when you're looking at your groups, you look at, well, what can we really do to get up to the next level? Which of those students are going to do that for us? High poverty schools can be high performing schools when students are held to a high standard, when they are aware of those standards and teachers believe that students can exceed those standards and teachers believe in themselves, or students believe in themselves. Teachers do. So something that I think we should look into in the future is a series of books called Disrupting Poverty by Kathleen Budge and William Parrott, based on research out of Boise State. And their books focus on 5 practices of high poverty and high performing schools. So that's really what I came away with. I mean, there were some other things, but the committee thing really got me excited. Next year, the convention will be in Chicago, April 2nd through the 5th, I believe. So since it'll be closer, I hope that more of us can go, and it is over the weekend, where I know like the WASB State Convention is over the end of the week. So I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Are there any questions? Kyle, I just want to thank you. This was an excellent presentation, and I know you were very enthusiastic about everything that you learned at the meeting, and I appreciate you working out a way to go and working out your work schedule so that you were able to go. It looks like some great ideas you brought back. Is there any drawback to this committee structure that you didn't mention here that you've thought of?
I think there are some things, again, and I think those things, one of the things I really didn't like was the administrators not presenting to the board, because there are certain things that, yes, the oversight committee could hear a presentation on, but there are things that the entire board as a whole is responsible for, like financial responsibility and student achievement. So the way he talked, those things would never come to the board, but it would be the chair of that committee who would say, okay, here is the financial statement for the month of June. Let me walk you through it. And then I said, oh my gosh, I teach kindergarten, and that would terrify me. The community engagement piece is something that worries me, is because now the community structure has been opened up, and I don't want the community to feel like we don't want their participation. But I think we have to find a way to make it productive. He said, okay, school board members, we took the time to run for an election, Administrators, they work very hard. We are all type A people. And what do type A people do? We look for work. And if we don't put people to work in the proper, productive way, then there's going to be micromanaging. And even the same thing with the community members. And I think expanding the ways, because if you look at our strategic plan, if you look at anything that the district has really asked community members to participate in, you start seeing, God bless them, the same names on every document that you look at. So really making sure that we spread the net wide for the participation. And so going back to the elections, what really convinced me that we had to look at, and I'm not saying we do this, but this was something I was excited about, is that some of the things our committees are doing are governing responsibilities, and we are the ones who are elected by the public to govern, not people we appoint to committees. So that really stuck with me, that we have to take a look at it.
Okay, any other questions? Oh, John.
Kyle, thanks for taking the time out of your schedule to do that. Did you speak to any other school board members that perhaps have adopted this that you could call upon?
No, he does have the very short book. He also does have a blog, and he himself is very accessible. And if it's something we're interested in, I could certainly ask for a list of other districts who use this model. I mean, I know it's not a quick decision. It's something that you would put out like fully implementing, maybe 9 months to a year from now, as you transition everything and make sure that you have everything crossed. Because even as you look at the committee structure now, we come across policies sometimes and we're like, well, that's not quite right, and you want to make sure that that's right. So if the board wanted to change committee structure at all, I would recommend, even if it's not this, would be to form an implementation committee who would then work on those policies and making sure that everything transitions smoothly from one to another.
Okay, anyone else? Again, thank you so much for attending and for presenting to us tonight.
You're welcome. Oh, I also do want to notice, I changed my presentation. I'm sorry, nothing to do with the convention, but as we present up here, please do be cognizant of the font size that you're using, because I was watching the TV tonight after someone brought it up to me that even when the screen is full on the TV, it's still very hard to read some of the text. So, okay, getting off my soapbox.
Okay, thank you. All right, and now we have Ms. Jackson, our student rep, to give us her student report.
Good evening, everyone. These past few weeks have been very shocking, not only as a community member or a student in this district, but also as a board member. I've replayed the slogans, Beloit Proud and Thinking Beyond Now, in my head so many times. I'm embarrassed to give you a number. For those who aren't aware, about 35 students, including myself, held a picket/protest outside of Beloit Memorial this morning in response to all the chaos that's been happening in our district. The students who showed up, I'm very proud of them. These are young and passionate advocates at work. These students are demanding to be heard and thought about when district executives make decisions. And it's no secret that there's been numerous of situations and things that have happened this school year alone that have certainly taken a toll on not only students, but our highly dedicated staff as well. From Thompson, Banks, Wilson having their jobs threatened at the high school, to other teachers, principals, and now even our superintendent being replaced, substituted, and or exchanged mid-academic year without adequate reasoning sometimes, it surely intimidated some of the teachers I've connected with these past few weeks. And when I've asked these teachers why they don't speak out, I've heard some things that have confused me, but also intrigued me. They've said things like, they don't listen and they don't care, and what if I'm next, and I'm not sure if I want to come back next year. And I'm no genius, but if we think about the suspensions of Pearl Forbes and Jim Driscoll earlier this school year, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out the root of our intimidation. If we can place staff on administrative leave for a week for allegations surrounding the usage of inappropriate language without any sufficient evidence, I think it's safe to say we can provide a consequence a bit more severe than just 3-day suspension for a student who's accused of sexually assaulting not one, but 3 of our very own students. And now I can't bring myself to believe that we've intended to continuously spoon feed this trauma to the victims by allowing their alleged abuser in our hallways, in our classrooms, in our district, just days after, and literally refuse to comment on the issue. And for some, even make yourselves aware of what's happening outside this building. And I think this is the reason we've been unsuccessful battling our disciplinary numbers throughout the district, is because we're not equal here. Some students and even staff in this district have more privilege than others, and it's getting pretty hard to hide. Our district executives are so caught up in what surrounding communities think of us, our campuses, our athletic programs, and our numbers that we've lost sight of our goal. We call ourselves the district of choice and claim to value and promote diversity, yet choose to take the individual mostly responsible for promoting this diversity and dedicating himself to helping us significantly increase the amount of minority staff members in our district, a man who faithfully demonstrates leadership, authority, and integrity in numerous of ways by not only guiding but continuously paving ways for many students in this district, including myself, and we've blatantly demoted him from his assistant superintendent position to a co-principal position at an intermediate school. Now, I would truly support your decision if we had no other staff in this district qualified enough to fulfill this co-principal position. However, the fact that I know that there's still very qualified and underrated staff in this district who are very anxious to get back jobs that they were bullied out of by a board from 2 years ago leaves me wondering what direction we're really headed. We're running away the people we need here the most. And I think one of the most significant problems in our district is the amount of very genuine and advantageous staff that leave us each year. I watched some of the best staff we've ever had be welcomed into our district one year just to wave us a goodbye the next. And these are issues that can't be resolved with $24,000 yonder pouches, a new welcome center, or even a new superintendent. We're experiencing the lack of communication, honesty, trust, and love between the school board and the community that no superintendent search teams can find and no demotion of highly qualified staff can solve. I'm asking that the board unify themselves with our community. It's obvious they're concerned and eager to get involved. And from this point forward, when making decisions that impact our community leaders and community as a whole, to just really think beyond these agendas. It's a little bit deeper than that. I also want to congratulate our new board members and encourage them to dive deep over the next 3 years to not only look at the situations being presented at hand, but to review the history of this board and the district, good or bad, in order to completely understand the needs of our students, staff, and community members. Thank you and good luck.
Okay, now, Mr. Wilson, do you have the communication committee report, please?
Dang, Ms. Jackson. Way to go. Let me have to go after that, huh? Mine is pretty brief. Our meeting was on April 17th. Brian Vissers, again, graciously showed up with his wonderful trifold informational packet that will be available to us board members as well as other individuals who may be representing the district with a bunch of great information of things that the district is doing, from curriculum to co-curricular activities. So we look forward to seeing that trifold again, and it'll be ready soon, right, Mr. Vissers? And the Blackboard app is something that Mr. Vissers presented to us briefly on, and that will be ready soon for parents and guardians to use and access some of the functionality that Skyward allows us. So again, we're looking forward to getting a presentation about the full functionality of the Blackboard app. And our next communications committee meeting is May 21st at 4:30 p.m.
Thank you. Let's see, who will be presenting the fiscal committee? Okay, so we're going to have to hold off and postpone the fiscal committee report for when Ms. Sanchez returns. Infrastructure committee.
Excuse me, President Charles.
Yes.
The fiscal committee was unable to meet due to a lack of a quorum.
Thank you for clarifying that. Okay,
Sure.
so there is no report. Good.
Correct.
Okay. Infrastructure committee is Ms. Sanchez. Is there Mr. Larson? Thank you.
So the infrastructure committee met finally on April 11th at 5 p.m. and we discussed number of things, including the need to replace the pool filter in the future, high school parking lots, which will be worked on this summer. Due to a large balance in our Fund 50 account, our food service account, we are able to make improvements in the cafeterias at Aldrich, McNeil, change out some tables at Cunningham, and then not paid with that same money, the Todd bathroom remodel, as well as talking about change orders and district furniture for the new office building. Our next infrastructure committee meeting will be at May 4th at 5 p.m.
And staff committee?
And that's also me. Hang on just 1 second, please. So the staff committee met and on April 9th. And we had a staffing update from Ms. Caradine. We had an update on our third-party exit interview. We have had Tracy Shirk, who is doing the third-party exit interview, is happy with the numbers we've received back so far via email, text messages, and has several phone interviews set up also. We looked at some job descriptions for a pool manager, as well as repurposing some of the positions, a bookkeeper at the high school, and then a finance person, an accountant here at COLAC. And then an update on employee evaluations, and everything is on schedule there. Our next staff committee meeting would be May 14th here at COLAC at 5 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. And now we have student committee, Mr. Wong.
Okay, we met on the 16th of April, and let me pull up the agenda here. We covered 3 basic areas. One was the early college credit program for the summer of 2019 and the fall semester of 2019 and 2020. Talked about that. Mr. Bonds presented the material, and there will be, in the past, there had been a significant amount of budget dollars that had been set aside, and we requested that be squeezed down to be more in line with what is actually used. So that won't be out there for excess funds. The dual language program was presented. We had Mr. Wesco presented the material. We did have the group from Converse, or a staff member from Converse, that did talk as well. We had a good discussion about that, and what I really liked was we had good input from staff, and we recommended that we go back and have surveys done at Converse to determine what the next move is there. And listening to staff members, I think, is very, very important. Next areas kind of went together. One was the Career Academy's update at the high school, and along with that, the Ford Next Generation Learning partnership, which both of these are related to career development at the high school level. And the Ford Next Gen Learning is something that's new to me. I'm not familiar with it. The staff is very excited to have that on board. So we did approve that, and I believe that it will be coming, if not tonight, I think that will be coming for approval. So that's all we had for our staff, or the students meeting. I would once again, as I have in the past, I truly appreciate the staff members that serve on the committee, the work that they put in. I think that I enjoy them meeting with the group. The insight that they have at all levels, high school, elementary, and the intermediate is very, very helpful. So our next meeting will be Tuesday, the 14th of May. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Now I've asked Mr. Tome if he could present the financial report, please.
I'm Bob Tome, the Director of Business Services. So we have our monthly financial report. The first page of it is the board summary, and this kind of speaks to the cash flow of the district. So you can see that the revenues in February were $1.5 million, but the expenses were $6.2 million. And that speaks to when we get our state aid payments. So if February is kind of a slow month, you're not getting any tax money, you're not getting any state aid. Of course, your bills are still coming, you still have to make your payroll. Now March, we will get state aid payments, and then you'll see in March we'll probably have a lot of revenue and not so much expenses. So this sheet just kind of gives you a flavor of how the cash ebbs and flows in the district in a month. Then our next one is analysis of revenues. So for the new board members, these reports have changed since you were last on. When I got here, they were looking at reports just from the current year, which to me was difficult to tell what was going on when you don't compare one year to the prior year to know, hey, are we on track or are we not on track? So this breaks out your revenue into all of the sources of revenue you have in the district. And at this point of the year, you can see we've collected 40.81% of our revenue, and last year we were at 40.88. So we're tracking right on line where we expect to be. Everything's looking fine in there. And I want to mention this does not include the grants. We've broken them out separately because just by definition, the grant revenue always equals the grant expense. And it makes things look goofy when one year you get a grant and the next year you don't, and then it makes your reports look strange. So that's where we're at with that. Then we do the same thing again with expenditures. So these are all broken out into all the different chunks of expenses that we have. So you see salary and fringe, which are your two biggest ones. And at this point of the year, we're at 53.77%. Last year, we were at 52.67. So you can see we're tracking right on line. Everything's looking good. If we were off by 10%, I'd be in a panic right now and trying to figure out what was going on, but everything is looking good there. When you get into some of the other line items, though, you will see some variances. So in these personal services and property repair and these things, The big thing is that we're doing the energy exemption projects. This year there's $5.8 million of exemption projects, which is building remodels and boiler upgrades and those things. Last year it was only 3.2 million. So we've spent a whole bunch more money this year, but we plan to do that. And that gets spent pretty much right away because you try and do all those projects right away in the summer. So it makes our expenses look high. And the other thing is DPI changes how they want to code things from year to year. So you can look at some of these and see, like property repair. Last year you were at 4.9 million. This year you've only spent 2.3 million, but then they added other property services this year. So now we've spent 5.4 million on other property services, whereas that account didn't exist last year, so there was no spending last year. So it kind of skews things when they change the numbers, and hopefully they've got the codes the way they like them and they'll leave them alone for a little while so we have a better comparison. But the overall then is in all those purchase services, we're at 50.72. Last year we were at 43.31. And that's basically because those energy exemption projects, you spend that money right away. And so it skews higher. Other than that, everything else is coming in line and looking good there. And then we do the same breakout, but this is just for your grants. So you can see how we're doing with the grants. It actually did not change all that much. We're projecting to get 10.1 million this year. We had 10.6 million basically last year. So it's just a change of, you know, some years in Title I you get a little more or a little less, or you may get a grant one year and you don't get it the next. But everything is tracking right on line where you'd expect your grants to be. We collected 43.68%. Last year we were at 42.58, so we're right on line. And then the last piece is the grant expenditures. And again, it's all broken out like the other one. And we'll just jump to the bottom. You're going to see it's pretty similar. This year we're at 50.11. Last year we were at 48.59. So things again are tracking right on line in grants and looking like we should come in right on budget. So any questions on the financial reports?
Okay, I'd like a motion for approval, please.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any more discussion on the financial report? All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, financial report for this month is approved. And that was the only consent agenda item we had tonight. Now we have a policy for first reading. We typically have been doing first readings in special meeting, but I put this on our televised meeting because it's been a topic lately out in the public, and there's a lot of confusion and misinformation out there. I'd like to correct, and I'd like to bring this one that will actually really clarify our role as board members in appointing a superintendent. So I worked with our district's attorney who actually wrote this policy for us. And it says, it's titled Appointment of Interim Superintendent. It says, in the event the board determines it is necessary to appoint an interim superintendent due to a vacancy in the position, the board may appoint an individual who is licensed and qualified to perform the duties of superintendent to fill the position for the time determined by the board. The board may choose a licensed qualified current district employee or an external candidate to be the interim superintendent until a new superintendent is selected through the search process contained in board policy or until an interim superintendent is recruited and hired. And this is in contrast to the other policy we have that discusses the temporary appointments of someone to cover for the superintendent when he is absent, or when she or he is absent. So this is for first reading. Is there a motion? Or let's start with a motion and a second if you would like, and then we can have discussion.
I'll have a motion to approve Rule, or 221 Rule 1, appointment of interim superintendent for first reading.
I'll second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded for approval. Is there any discussion?
So I don't have any huge issues with this, but we as a district need to do a better job of being better stewards of our policies and not putting policies in place so people can't do things, or to clarify what conversations or whatever we've been commenting on in the public that has little or nothing to do with what it is that we have to do as a board. And so with this policy specifically, again, we don't respond to what people say or do. And so as this policy is on the agenda, I got probably several other issues with it, but from a policy standpoint, again, we need to be better stewards of putting policies in place to protect our students and parents and our families versus putting a policy together to stop people from doing something or to clarify something said from a conversation that we had, when we don't all represent the same views or opinions or present things the same way. So we can't speak on anybody's behalf up here unless it came out of my mouth. And yeah, we are guilty by association of being board members, but you don't speak for me and I don't speak for you.
Okay, I'd like to respond to that. This isn't instead of any other policies. I'm clarifying. This is not instead of other policies. This is just one that's coming forward tonight because in the past, the board misinterpreted its own policy. And we had a clarification from our attorney saying that it was misinterpreted. And it was our attorney that helped write this to clarify our legal duty as a board member, as a board, I should say. Legally, we can't have a policy that tells us we have to appoint person A to the board in case of a vacancy. Because if we had such a succession policy, we would never be searching for a new superintendent. It's up to the board to determine who they want to appoint in the case of a vacancy. And we saw, the attorney and I both saw the need for clarification, not because there was one conversation, but because there's a misunderstanding, not only in the public, but with the board about who we should appoint or who we can appoint. And I wanted to clarify that in board policy so that going forward, the public will understand and the board will understand.
So the problem is that we were misinterpreting policy until it became a point where we were trying to stop somebody from doing something. And I say we as this board. So it wasn't an issue until we wanted to stop somebody from doing something, and then we seek clarification from our district council. So let's not sugarcoat it. We on TV. Keep this on live, whatever you want to do. But let's not sugarcoat it, because we have searched for an interim superintendent before, and the issue that people have is the same process that we did those 2 and 3 times. We didn't do that. Right. And now we want to change when there's a chance for us to do the right thing, and we don't do that. So yeah, people have an issue with this. I got an issue with this. I don't like it. It stinks, Pam.
Okay.
Yeah, here.
The reason for the policy is not to, because we could always waive policy if we didn't want to follow one. We're trying to clarify our role as a board. No policy tells us who to promote to the superintendent position. No policy can do that, or we would never search for a superintendent.
I read that somewhere.
So this policy clarifies our duty as a board, which is to select the most appropriate and qualified person to fill in the case of a vacancy. The other policy is for absence, temporary absence. Thus the title, temporary. This is a clarification. It's nothing more than that. And it was suggested, like I said, by our attorney and written by him.
You asked me.
Is there anyone else? No, I'm sorry. Oh, well, sure, you can come to the podium. Yeah, it's on the agenda, so feel free. Just if you please give your name and address.
My name is Eunice Glass, 2035 Mount Avenue. Look, this has been going on for years. You simply rewrote that policy to suit your own purpose, and it's not right. Where did the vacancy come from in the first place? That's all I got to say. You simply wrote that policy, which is what people have been doing for years. I've been here since 1961, and it's been happening in this town ever since then. You just wanted to put somebody else where you wanted to put them, and it's not right, and you shouldn't do it.
To clarify, the policy has not been rewritten. This is in addition to the other policy which still stands. Anybody else? Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I understand that we appointed Mr. Bosco to be it. What about Mr. Bonds? He's the assistant. You know, that's what happens when you have a fire. The fire chief goes away, the deputy chief comes in and next. Police chief, same way, correct? You don't just go to a patrol officer, hey, take over, chief. That doesn't happen. Let's follow the way it goes, chain of command. You know, that's how it should be. He's in it now, but we're interim for an interim. Let's go now. That's temporary in my opinion. It was 2 months. That's pretty temporary.
Please give your name and address when you speak. Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Melissa Stoltz, 2150 Stayborn Drive in Beloit. And I'm concerned about what's going on here as well. And what concerns me is the willful ignoring of what people are saying about it. You seem to believe that the issue is the policy or how the policy was implemented. And what the community is saying is we have a problem with who was appointed. And what it sounds like to me as a community member is the house is on fire and you're quibbling about whether or not it was legal to light the candle in the first place. So I think you need to bring some stakeholders to the table. You need to listen to the actual concerns. Stop defending the use of a policy and explain what happened here.
Thank you all. Anyone else like to talk? Okay. All I'm going to say is that, it's the board's duty to make the selection.
You work for us.
And right, but you know what? We're elected by the people to make these decisions. That's the board's duty. It's the board's duty. And if you're going to talk, I'd really appreciate if you could have one more chance at the podium if you want. I'm not afraid of what you yell out at me. What I don't do is I don't react to this kind of thing. I'm doing what's right. I'm doing what's right.
Division Street, Riley, Flory, 1322. You want to do what's right, let's have a community meeting with everybody else besides the 33%. We all have something to say. We weren't invited. How about you talk to us once in a while and let the community talk to you guys without this podium for 3 minutes. Let's have a conversation. We can talk without getting mad, but it's when we're lied to we get mad. And that's all we're fed. We're fed a bunch of baloney. Feed us some real stuff and we can accept it. That's it for the night. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have the policy. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Good evening. I suppose mine is a simple question. I want to know, is it normal to take so long to get a superintendent? I believe that I moved back here 5 years ago. And 5 years ago when I came, there was interim superintendent. And it's still going on now. What happened? Is that normal?
Okay, this is off the topic, but I will answer that we have a new superintendent coming July 1.
Yeah,
and he's
5 years
finishing
later.
up his other position rather than walking out. And he'll be here July 1. I'm sure he wishes he could be here sooner. Thank you.
Does that answer my question? Is it normally a 5-year process to get an interim? Or
It hasn't been a 5-year process. Okay. So, to the board, I would say that if you are familiar with our policy, you know that this is totally different than the other one. And if you'd like to go to the podium. If it's about this agenda item, you may speak.
Yes.
Okay, please give your name and address.
Catherine Swain, 737 Elm Street, Beloit. I'm here to encourage and urge the good citizens of this wonderful school district to have patience. With optimism, courage, and hope, have patience. The voter turnout in this last election was 33%. This is a good solid number for a spring election. The voters carefully considered their choices. The School Board of Education carefully selected our next superintendent. Please give these good people time to enact the plans that will bring about the positive changes that we need for our district. All of us must do our parts. Our students deserve nothing less.
Thank you. Okay, so we can adopt this policy to clarify what our board practice is, or we can table it until Dr. Monroe arrives. It's up to the board. It doesn't matter to me either way, because the other policy doesn't apply to this situation that we recently dealt with. This policy would cover that situation. Whether we adopt it now or we look at it when the new superintendent comes, it does not matter to me. I appreciate this chance to explain to the community that we did not have a policy for superintendent vacancy, and we still don't unless we pass this one. It can go through for first reading now, or I'm happy to say it'll come back later. Is there a motion on either of those?
We have a motion in a second.
Oh, we did. Okay, excuse me. It's been a while. All right, so the motion right now is to pass the policy for first reading. Okay. All in favor of passing?
Are we done with discussion?
If you have more discussion,
I do.
please.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just, in favor of tabling, I just think it sounds like what we've heard from the community today, that there are some bigger issues going on right now, and maybe it would be appropriate to wait until the new superintendent is here, and so we can kind of maybe have those conversations with our stakeholders, and maybe just be sensitive to those concerns.
I'm fine either way, but the motion is right now to pass it for first
Right,
reading, so you would vote no if you would like.
Right, but that's my discussion that I wanted to include.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Any more discussion? Like I said, I appreciate this opportunity to discuss it. If we don't bring it now, it will have to come back, I think, just to clarify for future boards. Okay, all in favor of first reading of policy 221.1, I believe it is, say aye. Okay, all in favor of postponing this until July's meeting? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Okay, now we can have your, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. I'd like to move to table it until the superintendent begins on July 1st.
Okay. All right, so is there a second to that?
Second.
Any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor of tabling the policy for first reading until July's board meetings, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so this will come back in July then. Thank you very much.
Madam President?
Yes.
Clarification on who seconded?
Who's?
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's see, we are now at approval of ad hoc Hispanic Committee membership. And those names were presented on board docs. Is there a motion?
I do have a couple of questions, if I may.
Sure.
I'm wondering if it'd be possible to add one more person to the list of committee members. And then I'm also kind of wondering where the list of names came from to be on the committee. So the name I would recommend would be Rosa Maria Larson.
Oh, she's not, I think she was supposed to be on here. And have you spoken to her? Would she be willing to serve? Absolutely. I'm sorry. I thought her name was on here. Okay, so then I would need a motion to approve the membership list with the addition of Rosa Maria Larson.
I think Kyle had a question about how we got the list.
It was developed with me and the interim superintendent and community members that came forward and said that they would like to serve. Mr. Winkleman?
Is there an opportunity to amend it as we learn of more people who wish to be on it?
Sure, especially because you know how these committees go. Some people don't end up showing up. So, yeah.
Okay, so it can be amended. Great.
Sure. All right, is there a motion then?
I move to approve the list of members to serve on the ad hoc committee to address concerns raised at the listening session with the addition of Rosa Maria Larson.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor of the ad hoc?
Discussion.
Oh, is there more discussion? Okay, all in favor of the ad hoc Hispanic Committee membership list with the addition of Rosa Maria Larson, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name. Thank you.
All right, the committee membership is approved. And now we are at, we have omitted D and E, so we are at, oh, the tuition, sorry, we're back up at C. Policy 223.1, tuition, continuing education reimbursement, and 223.1, Rule 1. You have the first readings here along with the second readings, just for the two of you that weren't here for the first reading. We tried to get all second readings done before the new board was seated, but this one kind of fell through the cracks. Oh, do you want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to extend the meeting.
Is there a
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor of extending the meetings, please say aye.
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 All right, I know we may have some questions about this. Like I said, it's the second reading, and two of you weren't here for the first. There were no comments at all from administrators who attended the first reading at the special meeting.
May I ask a question? How is the 6 credits determined?
How is it determined?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, was
exactly?
there input? Like, is there past practice or input? From
Past was 18. We were reducing it because
Okay.
the board felt that it was time to reduce it. It's not something that teachers get.
Yeah.
And we had several legal cases come up with people owing the district, you know, some cases like $40,000, and they get their education and then they leave. And we were having a lot of legal problems with that, which
Okay.
also cost us more money then.
Yeah. I was just wondering, do we get
Mhm.
administrative input for the 6 credits to determine that?
There was no, administrators were there and there were no comments.
No
That's all I
comments.
can say, yeah.
Cool, thanks.
No input. Any other questions? Okay, we don't have a motion yet on this, do we?
I'll move to approve the revision to policy 223.1, tuition and continuing education reimbursement, and policy 223.1, Rule 1, procedures for administrator continuing education credit reimbursement for final reading.
I'll second.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor of this policy and this rule, 223.1 and 223.1, Rule 1, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, so the policy 223.1 and 223.1, Rule 1 passes unanimously. Now, we have tabled D and E. Well, we already voted on D and E earlier, so we're down to F, personnel employment recommendations.
Madam President, I'd like to move approval for the employment reports, Exhibit A, B, C, and D.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all in favor of approval of all 4 exhibits for personnel recommendations, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay. Pardon?
I don't have enough background to know why these decisions were made, so.
Okay. All right.
For abstention.
All right. So 3 in favor, 2 nays, 1 abstention, so it passes. All right, thank you. All right. Now we're down to future agenda items. Does anyone have future agenda items? Mr. Larson.
I would, we have a great counseling center at the high school that students are able to take advantage of. I am wondering if administrators are able to talk with our partners at Beloit Health Systems and expanding those services into intermediate buildings and possibly the elementary, like what would that involve? Is it feasible for us to do? And how would that work?
Okay, so expanding counseling to middle schools. Anyone else?
Yeah, actually, is this, tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm newbie. So based on the public comments today, would it be possible to include Tony Cavazel's recommendation on a board agenda to consider the 20-year plan that he?
Well, I think that's definitely something that should wait for July, but.
Okay.
Yeah, because that would, a 20-year plan, you don't want to start that right before your
Oh,
new
yeah, I just didn't know if we
arrives,
could
but-
discuss it on an agenda.
Sure, yeah.
That sounds
We'll discuss that with Dr. Monroe when he arrives.
Okay, thank you.
And is there anything else?
I don't know if
Mr.
this
Wong?
is for here or not, but in light of the information about social media and Snapchat and all of that stuff the other day in the paper, perhaps revisiting our policies on social media and all the other technology stuff.
Okay, social media policy, and I think we want to visit for sure our field trip policy.
Absolutely.
Okay, there's 2 policies. Mr. Winkleman.
So perhaps I would appreciate a short update from our Title IX coordinator regarding grievances and how we respond.
Okay.
Title IX coordinator will know what that means. It's all good.
Okay. And I'm going to also bring the discussion to the board about our hiring practices. It used to be that we always had a 1-year license that the board would request for someone that was unlicensed. Lately, we're not doing that. And I've questioned it in past meetings. Was told that it's okay. When I asked the DPI, they said state law requires a license to begin your job. And so I want us to have that discussion, and if we're going to have any other practice, I'd like to have that be a board decision. But I'm typically used to, and I'm sure, John, you are too, the 1-year licenses that the board requests for unlicensed people. So, Mr. Wong?
Kyle, did that come up in the staff meeting? I don't know why I was thinking that.
Would you like to start it in the staff meeting?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's fine, as long as we bring it, because, I'm not comfortable with the way it's going right now. Okay. Anything else from anyone? All right, our next meeting date is going to be April 30th, special meeting, along with reorganizational meeting. And that's it. Is there a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
Okay, we've covered everything. No objections? Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
We're going back to